Hey, good morning. I am so happy you're here. You guys, we are winding down on season 2. I can't believe it. This has been so much fun this year because it's like a standing appointment to hang out with these girls. Alicia, looking beautiful like a mermaid, our little Daryl Hannah, and Carrie Oakley Miller representing Colorado. I almost bought that same hat when I was out there. Aren't you impressed? I knew it was a Colorado hat.
And that you wanted to buy a hat because
I didn't buy a hat, but then my daughter went out there and did buy me a hat, and it's one of my favorite hats. So, on Colorado. I'm going to go back to Colorado with you in the spring
yes.
so I can fall in love with it. Just don't take me there in the winter, please. So, we're winding down. Listen, I'm going to recommend you all start podcasts with your friends. And I know Carrie has said it before, but the real reason is because these women, we don't get to catch up. Our lives are insane. We just spent the last 20 minutes talking about having our grandchildren. We all just spent time with our grandchildren and we're all exhausted. We're all exhausted. So first, I want to say
They broke
props
us.
to they broke us.
Yeah,
They broke
I want to
us.
say props to you women who are raising young babies because when you get to be where we are, you do forget. You forget the everyday busyness and exhaustion that comes with this life of raising. It is not an easy task. And I think when you're in it, you're just in it. And so you don't know anything else. And when you get on the other side of it and go back in it even for a day or a week, you're like, how did we do that? So props to you.
Yes.
We are sending you virtual hugs, virtual high fives, and hope you all get great Mother's Day presents because you deserve it for what you do
absolutely.
every day. Truly.
Yes.
Truly. So as we're ending season 2 and it's complicated, we asked our kids, what are some things you think we should talk about? And one of my sons said he thought we should talk about maybe the advice we would give our 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and 50-year-old selves now that we're crossing the 50. I'm inching up to 60, you guys. This is insanity. So I thought that was a great topic. So just today, we're going to talk about, what advice, if we could go back to those young girls. I know that was a trend going around TikTok a while ago. What would you tell your young self? And I would tell her this. But in context of this whole multi-generational relationship, let's don't forget that too. But just in general, let's start it. Carrie, what would you, just your 20-year-old self,
Uh,
what was your 20-year-old self doing, by the way?
I was pregnant and about to have a baby at 20,
Sweet Tanner.
and
Yeah.
Taylor.
Oh, Taylor, I
Yeah,
said Tanner, your baby.
that's okay.
That is your baby.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah.
tuss.
Yeah, I think something that popped in my mind when you asked that was to go back and say it's not always going to be like this. Like it's not always going to be like this. It's life changes all the time, and it's not always going to be this hard or even this good, or it's not always going to be this way. You will have the
It
baby.
just
You will,
changes.
yes, you will meet someone. You are going to get out of this. It's always changing.
Hmm. Yeah. What about you, Alicia?
Oh gosh. So when I was 20, I had a toddler and I was living in Germany. Jeff was in the military. And I was like, go, 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 trying to get my degree and on the daycare that I had in my home and all the things. I think if I were to go back to that girl, I would tell her she's enough because I was always running, trying to prove all the things that I did. And I learned this later on through therapy, right? All the things that I was doing, reaching, striving, trying to achieve were because I did not think I was enough. And so I was always trying to prove it to others, to myself. And I had super high expectations of myself. So I would tell her, you're enough.
Yeah. That's so good.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting just how different our lives were there. I was a college student. It was getting ready to. My plan was to go on staff with Campus Crusade, and then I moved home for a year and met John. And I think I would tell that girl to trust your intuition. I have really strong intuition, but my younger self did not trust it. And I think I could have saved myself a lot of heartache had I trusted my intuition at that age. And I so sought the advice of everyone else, which is good. They were older and wiser. But at the same time, a lot of it went against what I believed in my gut. And I really wish I would have trusted myself back then. And it took me years to learn to trust my gut.
Yeah, that's something that
So
we just
let's
can I Jump in there. Something we were just talking about before we started this podcast was having a voice. And just that just reminded me of being that younger person and just trusting that everybody else knew what was best for me because, like just like what you were saying, relying on everybody else rather than saying, here's kind of what I want to do, or here's what I think, or here's what I don't like, rather than just assuming everybody else knew better than me and not trusting that to intuition.
That's right. I was so scared. That's so good. The voice. Ladies, if you're listening to this and you are younger, have a voice. Don't stay quiet. If something does not resonate with you, tell someone. If something has happened to you, tell someone. If you need help, tell someone. If this parenting thing is overwhelming, tell someone. You need to have a voice. You do have a voice. You need to use it. I think that's huge. I think if we three would have learned that, whether it was you're not enough and saying I am enough to yourself, a voice to yourself, Alicia, or you, Carrie, that it will be okay and you do move out of this. Or for me, trusting decisions that I thought I should make, but was too scared to make. And it is hard because if you do have faith and you believe all things work together for good and you're taught that, God has a plan for your life, then some of that is, well, was this part of my learning process? I wouldn't be the person I am today if it weren't for that. So it's hard to dismiss it totally as worthless. We all learned lessons through those struggles that we were going through at 20.
Well, Kathy, I think it becomes part of our story and
Of
how
course.
we can share with, with others and kind of help them to maybe not follow the same footsteps or just, speak into their life from our.
All right, well, do it.
Wisdom, right?
Do it right now. Speak into their life. You've got somebody listen. They're in their 20s. What would you say to her? Or him? We do have a few male listeners, mostly our sons. But what would you say? What would you say to the person listening that's in their 20s today?
Yeah, I would tell them that God made you. God loves you just how you are. You are enough for him. And if you're enough for him, then you need to be enough for you. I know we're not cussing on this podcast. Of everybody else, right?
Yeah. That's advice I gave somebody at a homeschool conference one time. She's like, what do I do when everybody's doubting because my son can't read at 4? They're judging me. And I said, F them. I didn't say, I literally said EFF, F them. Because listen, you've got to believe in what you're doing and who you are. And you've got to tone down the noise, right? Is that what you're saying, Alicia? Tone down the noise around you.
Yeah. And I think for me, really finding my identity in Christ, because I am a person of faith. And I think realizing what is your identity? Who are you? Right. And if other people get to say, if they get to have an input on who you are, then you are allowing them to basically dictate what your identity is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's ever a healthy place to be.
Yeah.
I think once I realized that, and I mean, honestly, it's been a journey. It's taken years for me to get to the place where I'm like, I'm perfect just like I am. I have not been the skinniest that I've ever been. I haven't been the most toned, the most, like all the things, but like I love myself more now than I ever did when I was younger. And I think that's really, I think that's a hard thing to do when you're younger, especially if you were in an environment that said otherwise or gave you beliefs that were otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's my other piece of advice. Get your butt in some therapy. You need it. You may not know that you need it. Go to therapy. Start early. Fix it now.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I am amazed at women. And I think about back when being 20, even our different stories as a 20-year-old pregnant, young loser that I thought I was, or lesser than other people who are at college or whatever. Like, what if we as women, and if you're listening and you're that age, rock wherever we're at? Because we know we are enough. Like, what if because everybody's struggling.
Embrace it.
Everyone is
Yeah.
struggling with something. You are no lesser than the person you're comparing yourself to, because she's comparing herself to somebody else and feels lesser than. Like, we all feel lesser than.
100%.
We're all there. We were all there, no matter what stage of life and what you're doing or how much money you make or what your body looks like. We all feel lesser than. And what if, how powerful that would be as women, we could embrace where we're at and do the best we can where we're at and fight for ourselves wherever we're at, instead of thinking we're lesser than, because everyone thinks that. The older I get, the more I'm learning that, and to be a
Yeah.
cheerleader for each other, most of all for ourselves, because we are amazing. Women are
100%.
incredible human beings.
And Carrie, I think the reason that we all struggle with that is because those are all the lies that are fed to us. And when you're young, you just believe them, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I got pregnant in high school, wasn't supposed to do that. So that must mean that, I'm not good enough. I,
Uh-huh.
didn't go to traditional college, so not good enough. Didn't come from a family with a lot of money, not really good enough, and I think identifying those lies is probably the first step,
And
right?
listen, and then you add on the today with social media, like the lies are louder. The
Gosh.
lies, I mean, we were even laughing. I mean, let's go back into our real world of grandparenting right now. We all had our grandkids. We all shared beautiful pictures and videos of our grandkids. And then we just sat here and told some of the real stories
Yeah.
behind the scene. And we were laughing of how that never makes it on social media. The
Yeah.
kids were running around and not listening or whatever the situation. That's real life, girls. If you see a girl who is, posting from one angle looking as thin, you don't know that she could be making herself throw up in the bathroom right before she talked. I'm not saying she is, but I'm saying she could be. You just don't know someone's whole story. You don't know what's just beyond the camera.
Uh-huh.
We don't know
Yeah.
what's just beyond, but yet we compare ourselves to the perfection of the camera. Even our clothing we laughed at. Carrie was commenting that she's in a baseball cap, and Alicia and I both look somewhat put together. Both Alicia and I have on workout clothes under what you're seeing right now. We both falsified this look to do this podcast. And I think if we could remember that so many people are falsifying their life for the camera.
Absolutely. And when we
Yeah.
compare, we are giving them our power. We are giving our power away rather than taking it back and saying, what am I going to do? And
So
who am
good.
I? And what is my value? We give it to other people and expect them to make us
Yes.
feel powerful. We're giving it
Yeah.
away. And, oh, I'm not like that. Instead of going, no, 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 no. Take it back. Take it back, girl. You got it in you. You got it in you. We just got to find it.
So let's skip on to 30s. 30s were a little bit different. We were in full swing of life at 30. Think about that decade of 20 to 30. Where were you when you were 30, Carrie?
I had just had my fifth baby, and we had four babies in 5 years. We were, Tanner was young. He was born in August. Yeah, he was probably whatever how old that is, and had four more kids, and had just recovered from a car wreck the previous summer. And so we were in the throes of it. Kurt was working for a ministry. And it would have been a few months later that he died. So we had no idea that was going to happen, obviously. So just in the throes of being a mom and a wife, busy,
What would you tell that
tired.
girl?
Ooh, knowing what I know now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knowing what I know now. Life does not really ever go the way we think it will. And to appreciate, oh my gosh, speaking to myself right now. Appreciate the people in our lives. We all know this. Just, yeah, I had no idea we had only had a few more months with him. And thankfully, we had a summer trip that we were going to take. We took to the beach together as a family in the summer before he died. Thankful for those
Would you have,
moments. Go ahead.
would you have changed anything in your marriage knowing what you know now?
Because I had been in that car accident and almost died myself, that gave us a different perspective for 2 years. So for 2 years, we actually did have that a little bit more than we would have if had that not happened.
Sure.
Yeah. So we did have that a little bit. I mean, taking a trip with five young, like who why would we do that? So I'm thankful that we knew enough to live life to take that trip together with all the kids and him. That was our last one together. So yeah, just appreciating the little things in life and the moments rather than always looking ahead to what's next. Well, what's the next thing? Or how much more money are we going to make? Or what kind of car? Just appreciating those moments together as a family.
Yeah, that's so good. Alicia, 30 looked a little different for you.
30, yeah. So by the time when I turned 30, I had a 12-year-old. I had a 12-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I was like deep in, like leading up until I was deep in the throes of motherhood and
Mhm.
raising the kids. And I struggled so much with, I mean, again, I think it was that same lie that I am not worthy. I don't have any value. And so just like, I wanted to stay home to raise my kids, but then I also wanted something to make me feel valuable. Right. And I felt like that, like I would see these other moms who were career moms and, and I was like, wow, they're like really important and really, they'd have C-level jobs. And I was like, man, I wish I was as valuable as they were.
Mm.
I really didn't see my role as valuable. And I think that was something that was probably somewhat common among
Mhm.
stay-at-home moms
Mhm.
raising their kids because I remember older women like telling groups of us, "Listen, you're doing the most important job on the planet right now." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Am I
Yeah.
though?"
Right.
Yeah.
Let me give you some thoughts.
Yeah, but I think that was probably a common thing, but, yeah, I mean, looking back, it just seemed like forever. I remember some friends of ours that we used to meet once a week, and another couple, they had kids, but they were older than ours, and, they had 3 boys also, and they would come over to our house because it was easy because our kids could be at our house, and we would have just kind of fellowship and Bible study and accountability, and, I remember Spencer was, like, 2 to 3, and I think I was so depressed, and I think
Mm.
people maybe back then didn't recognize that as a chemical health condition, but I wanted off. I remember just saying, like, I want off this boat. Like,
Mhm.
I wanna I'm done. I was so
Yeah.
frustrated. And then I was frustrated because I was like looking for answers on how can I not be like this. I would read these books that said, well, if you're depressed, it's because you have sin in your life. And I'm like, okay, so now I got to figure out what sin it is. And
Gosh.
I don't know how to stop whatever this sin is. I don't know how to make it stop. And so to that girl, I would say, go speak to a professional and not people who are, for the most part, older, wiser. I mean, Jeff even called our pastor at one point, was like, yeah, I mean, Alicia's just kind of nuts. I don't know what's wrong with her. She's making a list of who she's going to give all her running magazines away to. That was you, Carrie, by the way. You were going to get all my running magazines.
Oh, so sweet. I'm sure it
Um,
wasn't me.
and I talked to my
Funny, not
pastor, but it
funny.
wasn't, I don't, yeah, but I don't think it was really realized or understood or maybe studied or whatever it was. It was kind of like, well, I know I ran into you guys in Walmart and Jeff was on the phone and you seem kind of frustrated, maybe, work on some time together and which are all great things. But if you have a chemical issue in your brain, you can do all the things in the world, but it's not
Mhm.
going to change that chemical issue. It's kind of like if you have diabetes and, you can eat better, you can do all the things, but if your insulin isn't right,
Mhm.
um, there's not really a whole lot that you can do to
Mhm.
make it right once it's past a certain point, right?
Yeah.
You need
And this is going to be hard for the next generation to understand. We did not have podcasts. We did not have YouTube
Mm.
videos. We did not have
Yeah.
resources like
Mel
that.
Robbins.
Mel
We
Robbins.
didn't even have the
We did
internet, y'all.
not have that to look
Right. At
up
30, no.
and learn from other people and
I mean,
learn
we
about
had
these
it, but
things.
not
We
like
did not have that. We had to
yeah.
just
There
figure
was
it
no
No.
out.
Google.
Well, and
Yeah.
not only that, people weren't even talking. They weren't
True. Right.
talking about emotion. They didn't feel permission yet to express themselves. We all still were in that hold it in from the generation before, where we weren't sure it was okay to talk about our feelings, especially beyond just a few, maybe your family members. We didn't feel comfortable asking for help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that my 30-year-old self, I just had John Michael. I was trying to have another baby at that point. We were discovering that we had fertility issues and trying to adopt some more kids. And I found myself going into full rescue mode just because of my own personal history of my childhood. I started becoming full rescuer and lived my early these definitely in that space. I wanted to rescue everyone I could because I wasn't rescued, which was a very unhealthy place to be. No one probably knew that on the outside. Again, I wasn't telling anybody. I probably didn't even realize that's what was happening. Looking back, that's what
Mhm.
that young girl was trying to do. So again, I would tell my 30-year-old self, get therapy. I did start therapy in my mid, but I wish I would have done it sooner and gotten some help to deal with that childhood trauma because it really did impact my parenting, my life in a lot of ways. And so that therapy was powerful. So I mean, and listen, let's talk about therapy for a second. It takes a minute to find the right therapist. So if you have to ghost your therapist, don't feel bad about that. My daughter the other day said, Mom, I'm ghosting my therapist. Super ghoster. Find another one.
Yeah. And usually
There are a
therapists
lot
are
of
okay
great
with that.
therapists.
Usually they
They
understand.
are because
Yeah.
they do. They should. They
Mhm.
should because you've got to find the match for you. And so you might go through several before you find the person that is a right fit for you.
Yes.
Big fan of that. All right, just for time's sake, I'm going to push us to our fees because we might have some moms here. I know I've got some young friends. They're starting to turn 40. So they're entering this stage. 40 was a big switch for me. What was it like for you, Carrie? 40, you were at a totally different place at
Yeah,
40.
completely. I've heard that life does happen in 10-year increments. And as I look back, I'm like, that's so true. It's so true
Mm,
because Kurt died when I was 31. And so the kids were 10,
yeah.
6, 5, 3, and 2. And so that next 10 years was me being a single mom. And the same message I would have told my 30-year-old self as my 40-year-old self is because I lost myself. I lost myself in parenting young kids and having babies. And just what you were talking about too is it's okay to need. It's okay to have needs. It's okay to be weak. You can be weak. It's okay to take care of myself or to even stop and pay attention to how I feel because I didn't do that. I just thought it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. And I just need to take care of them. I just need to take care of them. But to just stop and say,
Mm,
it's okay and you guys helped me with that. I had to have people tell me it's okay to go take a trip once a quarter. You need it. Where I'm like, oh, really? I'm going to be away from the kids and they're going to just like we talked about last podcast, like the permission to take the time that I need to be whole. It's not all about, I am a
mm-hmm.
human being. I'm a woman. I need
Yes.
things. I need softness. I need space. And
Yeah.
I need somewhere to go to share my voice. And that's okay to
Did
do
you feel
that.
like you learned that you were starting to learn that at 40 or you still had not learned that yet?
No, no, no. Because at are we at 40? Because at 40, then I married
Yeah.
Andy and threw all the step family in there. So I continued the cycle of saving everybody. All right, if I'm here for
Right.
everybody. I'm saving everybody. And so had I learned to do that throughout, I think it would have been more balanced and I wouldn't have crashed. That you are important. I'm important. And that's hard for me to say even now. I think
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
we are important as individuals, not just moms, to give myself permission.
I recorded a podcast on the Play Skillfully podcast, and my co-host, guest, whatever, Carrie, she said that very thing. She said she had to learn as a young homeschool mom that you matter too.
Mm.
We matter too. And I keep thinking about that. We matter too. And I think as moms, especially, everyone gets put before us and we just kind of get the leftovers of ourselves. But if we could say, actually, no, we matter too. We matter too. We matter too. I'm right here level. I matter. I think that would change a lot of things for most women
Mhm.
if we would own that. What about you, Alicia? Your 40-year-old self, you were probably graduating a kid or two at 40.
We were deep into the throes of our oldest being a prodigal child at that point. So, like, the pressure was not letting up anytime soon. Gosh, yeah, I don't even know how I think sometimes, how you talk to moms of twins and they're like, I don't even know what happened the first 2 years, and all of a sudden one day they were just 2 and I started remembering stuff again. I feel like that was that time in our life for me. I went back to work because I needed to for our family, and our youngest had started kindergarten, and, although maybe that was like I kinda went back 30s, I guess. Yeah, so by the time I was 40, yeah, we were just it was a mess, just kinda trying to survive, both financially in what was it, 2006 or 7 or 8. It felt like it continued on into 2010, 11, 12 for us, with the crash of the real estate market and everything. Kids were getting older. This was a time in my life where I felt like I really didn't have a good tribe. I really didn't have a
Mm,
tribe. I mean, I thought I had a tribe, and then when all the cards started falling with Andrew, we got dropped like we were lepers, you know? Um, Nobody suddenly on Friday night, people were washing their hair and all,
Hmm. Yeah.
had all this other stuff
Mhm.
to
they
do.
thought it was contagious, right? They thought what
Yes,
you were going through was
yes,
contagious. If they
yes.
befriended you, they too would then have a
Yeah.
kid who was
Correct.
struggled like that.
I think that's a very good way to
Mhm.
describe that. So yeah, I think what I would say to her is just keep your chin up. It's just a
Mm.
moment in time. It's not going to be forever. You don't know what the
Yeah.
outcome is, but it's going to be okay. It's
And it's
God.
not too
God's got
late.
it.
Mm.
I just feel like
Yeah.
for you, it's not too late. I think so many moms where you were probably are like, "What? It's
Yeah.
too late. You can't come back from
Right.
this."
Yeah.
And
You
you
can
did, he did.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The scary thing is, like, not really knowing when or if things would turn around, right? Is it
right.
gonna get better? Is it gonna get worse?
Yeah.
Like, what's
Mm,
that was pretty hard.
yeah,
But then, you still had to continue on because I had the other 2 that were coming up, and they still needed
yeah,
a parent, and,
Mhm.
just trying to do the best that we could for them, which, was part of their story. And, sometimes it wasn't enough for them.
yeah, yeah,
I feel like that age is really hard as far as like they all have their own hard, but we're just in the throes of the responsibility of teaching them to drive and going through middle school. Boys through middle school is hard like girls are.
Yeah.
And then going into high school, navigating their independent, who their self-esteem and like they're so self-conscious at that time
right.
and just trying to hold everybody's emotions together and like feed everybody well and paying attention to screen time and like
Yeah.
curfews and can you spend the night here? I don't know. Can I talk to the parents? Because I'm not sure, like all the things
Yeah.
all day long. Like we're just in it as there's no time for us
Yeah.
to stop and think how I'm feeling. I'm carrying everybody else's emotions through all of that, those years. It's really hard.
Yeah, I think for me, it was around the time that's when we were in the process of adopting Joshua and then meeting the other older boys, and the whole Guatemala thing was happening at 40. So I sure was unaware of what was going on in anyone else's life because I was so focused on my job for that 3 years of getting Joshua home and Carlos and Melvin after. And it was the time that what Guatemala did give me is I kind of found myself again. That is when I started running and when I started able to focus on my health a little bit, which is usually the first thing to go when I put myself last. It's my health. I always start eating the junk, not working out. It's just a real cyclical thing with me is when I'm not taking care of myself physically is where you see it first. And so I started physically taking care of myself and emotionally taking care of myself, was in
Mhm.
some good therapy, really started seeing myself having a voice for the first time. So it was a big decade for me, my fees. I ended up getting divorced in my fees, met Jeff in my fees. So it was a big decade of change for my kids, for me. And I would tell that girl, I mean, that was a good decade. That was a good decade of learning, hard decade. But boy, did I learn so much and grow so much in my fees. So I look back on that time with, I mean, tough, but
Yeah.
thankful. So I would say in your 40s, that's when you start going, meh, I don't really care what they think. Where in your 20s and 30s, I so cared. Like if you didn't want to be my
Yeah.
friend, I don't care. I was going to make you
Yeah.
my friend. Like I probably could list 5 people who really dislike me. Because if you dislike me, like you seem to really dislike me, and I get it, I'm a lot. But those 5 people, I was going to try and win them over. And by my 40s, I'm like, so what?
It's your
Don't
issue,
like
not
me.
mine.
Take me, leave me. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Even if
Yeah.
it's mine, I'm not going to. whatever, but the 40s, you kind of, and then by 50, you're like, I don't even care.
Yes.
I really don't even care. I
Yeah.
don't want friends anyway.
Can you all just leave me alone?
What are you gonna do with them? Like,
Yeah.
go to bed at 7?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to eat 4:00 dinner on a Friday night?
Right,
All right, see you
right.
later.
I mean, oh, okay. We're winding down. This is our decade now, ladies. We're in our phase. One of us moving closer to 60 than the other two. Where are you now? Let's finish this one with where are you now?
Yeah. I think because my fees were kind of taking on a whole nother family, so I wasn't coming down off of that plane ride at all. It amped up just in a different way. So I didn't use my fees to start to go, okay, what do you need? It's happening now. So I'm there now because of really having to. More softness, just it's okay. You're not responsible for everybody. I'm not responsible. And I feel like I needed to tell myself that throughout 20s, 30s, 40s. And I'm not responsible for everybody. And to lift that, continue therapy because other things come up as more space happens. There's not a kid right here crying, or to continue therapy and to continue diving into whether it's childhood issues or trauma, or haven't arrived. I'm not there yet.
No, we're still learning.
Oh my gosh, so much learning.
So much.
And then how to have adult kids and in-law. Like, I don't know what that's like to continue to learn and grow into those relationships, but also it's okay to sit and read a book. It's all right. And I'm like, oh, wait, I should be doing that. I need to be doing something, like just continuing to tell myself it's okay to take that space and be more soft.
I love that. What about you, Alicia? Your
Yeah,
old 50-year-old self?
so I'm a grandma now. Mid 40s became a grandma, and I love being a grandma. I love this stage. But yeah, still finding myself looking for, I don't know, not where I fit in, but just like I think like you think of your first child, right? And you have the first one and there's no instruction manual, and you're kind of both learning. You're learning how to be a mom and they're learning how to be a kid, and there's this whole learning curve thing, right? And I feel like that's the same thing that happens when your kids are adults, right? You haven't ever had adult kids before where they don't need you, and you're more of the friend, hopefully, with that relationship and connection than the parent who's overseeing and protecting and providing. And it's the first time I've been a grandparent, first time I've been a mother-in-law. Now I have a couple grandkids and a couple mother-in-laws, mothers, daughters. You know what I have.
We know what you mean.
I've got something. I've got a whole lot of
Sometimes
something.
the brain goes in the 50s too.
Yeah, but I would probably tell myself that, I mean, you guys just kind of nailed it. Like, you're still learning. Just because you've got 50 years under your belt doesn't mean you've got 50 years doing this under your belt. Lots of things that I have not dealt with or experienced in life. I have heard that from people older than me that they've been married for a long time. We actually just celebrated our 35th anniversary.
Congrats.
Believe it or not.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
That's impressive.
But just that they went through a divorce of a child, right? And that was one of the hardest things that they ever did. And, that's something I haven't had to do. I hope I don't have to do. Again, just an example of something that even though you get to a certain age, there's a lot of life that you haven't experienced. So just be open to learning. And now I am so much more apt to go get help, whether it's, psychological help or therapy or different types of things, different modalities. I'm like, oh yeah, fix this. Like, now that I know that a lot of this stuff is, can be worked through, it's almost kind of a healing.
It's a good time to push our dear friend Christy Montez. We all see Christy, and Christy is a naturopath. And what we love about Christy is she does help with some holistic medicine, but she does also help with some emotional healing too. And she has lots of options for you. If you are, and she can do it remotely. So if you are looking for someone to help you in that area, it's Trinity Psychological Services. We'll link to her in the show notes. And she's a great person to reach out to because she's a mom. She's a mom of 4. She's been through it. She's also in her 50s. She is very wise in this area and helping you work through some things. So we want to encourage you, and we'll have her on as a guest next season. Next season's going to be where we start inviting some guests to share their expertise, and I'm excited about that. And for me, in my 50s, you guys, I've come alive again. You know,
Right.
I lost a child right in my early phase, and that took me down. And then I had a daughter battle disordered eating, and that took me down. And now, 5 years after that, I am, you know, working my business for the first time again. I'm excited. I'm writing again. I'm sharing. I'm speaking. So I see the 50s as kind of another exciting decade. I mean, hard, but full of still learning and growing. We're not done yet. We're not in the grave yet. We have a lot still to learn and a lot still to share. So kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. And what would be a small deposit if we had to share? What's a small deposit somebody can do? They've listened to this week. Their thing, wherever they are, they could be in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. What's something we would tell them to do to make a small deposit? Queen of
Yeah.
small deposits, Alicia, what you
Okay,
got?
I got it.
I knew you would.
Write a letter to your younger self, any age, and tell her about your life right now, what it's going to be like, and explain to her all the things that she's going to learn that are going to help her.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah. And
Anything else, Carrie?
forgive. You know, we're so hard on ourselves, especially when we're younger, just to forgive yourself.
Yeah. Y'all, this is a beautiful life we get to live.
Absolutely.
It's full of ups and downs. It's like the waves. They go in and out, and sometimes they crash us, and we feel like they're going to take over, and then they release, and we see we have room to breathe. You have to really decide to ride that instead of fight against it. Enjoy this life and learn the lessons that life gives us.
Absolutely.
We will finish up next week. Something else, Alicia, before we go?
I was just going to say, if you are listening to this and you're like, this is not a beautiful life, I am not happy right now, and I want off this boat, and you don't have anyone, you don't know anyone to reach out to us.
Yes.
We would love to walk next to you. I have struggled so much in my life with depression and just not even realizing that that was a thing. So I get it. And it really sucks to be there, but it's really amazing on the other side. Reach out. We're here for you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for listening. Next week, we're going to finish up this season with some fun, summer fun. We'll see you then. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.